Welcome to the Real Lost Boss podcast.
Hello, welcome to episode 43 of the Real Lost Boss podcast. And in this episode, we are doing long-term problem, long-term solution. What's triggered me to do this episode is I have a certain follower on social media, on TikTok, and this person crops up every now and then. They don't follow me, or officially they don't follow me when I look at their profile, but they seem to comment quite a bit on my content. So unofficially, they are following me, and they kind of come out with some troll comments. Now, don't get me wrong, I've been doing social media consistently now for knocking on 3-4 years. Well, since COVID, really. And I'm very, very lucky. I don't get trolled at all. And the comments that this person puts on are not troll comments, but they're normally negative and they're normally aimed towards me as a person. And I don't actually mind them. And I'll tell you why, because it does kind of allow some good content to come out of them, because I always respond to them and do a video reply, and I am talking about it. This, latest comment, as it were, on this podcast. Now, I'm not going to name any names. I'm not going to give them any more exposure than they deserve. But yeah, I'm going to go off topic a little bit. It's something I've learned from social media, and this has actually helped me mental health wise, like when I look at my past as being a very overweight person. And what I've learned from social media is, and trust me, it can be a very, very brutal place at times. And like I say, I'm really, really lucky with it. I don't get a lot of bad or negative comments at all. But yeah, one thing I've learned from comments like this and social media is someone will only try to bring you down if they feel you are flying higher than them. It really is that simple. And I follow a lot of people that have weight issues, or maybe trying to lose weight, or have been trying to lose weight in the past and they're not losing weight anymore. And some comments I see, they are brutal. Like, absolutely brutal. And I do feel sorry for a lot of people in social media, because it is a job. Whatever people think of it, it's not for me, it's not my full-time job. My full-time job is being an online weight loss coach and working with clients. And don't get me wrong, if I didn't have social media, it'd probably make it a lot harder to, build my business and have new clients. But it's not the be all and end all for me. But a lot of people have turned social media into a living. They work at it full time. And, if you're posting 7 or 8 and 9 videos a day on different platforms, that is a full-time job. It takes a long time to create content. And yeah, like I say, I think a lot of these people are trapped, because some of the abuse I see some people get, I just wouldn't be interested in staying in that space. But if that's now become their full-time job, they have no choice. They have no choice. Anyway, why I want to relate that back, and I know, like I said, I've gone off topic here from what the actual main topic of this episode is, but why I want to talk about this is, this has kind of made things seem a lot better in my head from my past, because I did suffer with a lot of bullying, certainly as a child. Never really physically bullied. It was always more mentally or mental bullying, as it were. It was all psychological. But I suffered a lot. And again, I'm not going to name any names, because I have no idea if this person even knows who I am anymore. But just on the off chance, Chinese whispers, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, it always gets back, doesn't it? Is that the right terminology? Is that the game? 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Anyway, we don't need to talk about that one. There was someone at high school, and this person at high school subconsciously made my life hell. And again, I'm not going to name any names, but And at the time, it was something that really upset me and something that was implanted in here. And I just never understood why. I was like, what have I done to this person? And it was funny because this person had a bit of a weight issue, but they really wanted to segregate. We sort of had a group of friends, as it were, and this person made it their mission to kind of segregate me the best they could out of this group. And that was, it was tough. Like I say, they were never physically abusive, or I can't really look back at when they were sort of verbally kind of abusive. It's just their actions, as it were. And I look back now, and let's say this person had a bit of a weight issue. So I was like, you should. Why are you trying to segregate me out? And I just put it down to me being overweight. But I'm like, you've got a little bit of a weight issue. Not as bad as mine, but you have. And when I look back now, I'm literally sat here, same thing as social media and trolls on social media. Someone will only try and bring you down if they feel you're flying higher than them. And this person, I always thought they were flying higher than me in a way because they had quite rich parents at the time. I have heard in recent years, and again, I don't wish any ill feeling on anybody whatsoever at all, and I mean that sincerely, but apparently those parents aren't that rich anymore. But still, I was probably envious of them because they always seem to have the latest computer games, the latest shoes, all this, that, and the other. And the truth is now I'm like, they actually probably envied me in a way. And I know that sounds really strange. You might think, well, why would someone envy someone that's morbidly obese? I don't know. They could only answer that question. But like I say, they were a troll to me at high school, or what we call trolling nowadays. And yeah, I kind of look back and I'm like, really? They probably were trying to bring me down because for whatever reason they were envious or jealous or whatever of me at the time. And that's kind of given me a lot of karma in my head. And I'm not saying that is 100% the reason. But then when I look back at all the times where people haven't been the nicest to me, generally around my weight, again, I relate it to that. I think, when I look back now at the life I've got now, and I look at the life that they had at the time when they were doing this to me, I was like, do you know what? I probably the only reason I actually wanted to, or would have been envious of them, was because they didn't have a weight issue, whereas I did. Like I say, I know I'm waffling now about this, but anyway, I'll get back onto the topic of this podcast. But I kind of wanted to talk about this because, like I say, the whole reason for doing this podcast is because this person on TikTok has kind of been quite negative towards me in certain ways. And I just wanted to relate it back to that. And I just hope anyone that's watching this now or listening to this now, in whichever format you are, tuning into this podcast, if you've currently got someone that's giving you a bit of grief or making your life not the happiest at the moment, please just remember, someone will only bring someone down that is flying higher than them. You might not think you are, but they think you are. All right, so take a bit of solace in that. Again, is that the right word? I have no idea. Anyway, let's get back to the topic. So, the topic of this episode, after that little ramble there, is long-term problem, long-term solution. Now, I have done a previous podcast on this right at the start when I started doing podcasts, which should be well over a year ago now. And I think the title, it might have been episode 2 or 3 or something like that, was "You've got to see your weight loss journey as a lifestyle change." So this is kind of a bit of a crossover from that, as it were. But anyway, this comment that this person put on TikTok, I think I was talking about my own weight loss journey. And I'm in a weight loss phase at the moment, and I've been at it since 2014. And this comment was literally, you've been dieting for 10 years. And you can tell the context in the way people are writing things. They don't need to speak it, just by the way they write it and who they are. And this person was basically saying that I'm a failure because I've been at this for 10 years and I'm still trying to lose weight. And knowing previous comments that they've put on my posts and stuff like that, where they disagree with my methods or, the position I'm in at the moment, I knew context in which they wrote that, as if to sort of say, you've been at this 10 years and you've still not hit your goal, you're a failure. And as always, I did a video response to it, which I feel triggered some decent content, which definitely helped people, because the comments I got from that video was, you've changed my mindset and this, that, and the other. And what I want to sort of say about this is, I think a lot of people tiptoe around this, and I don't want to tiptoe around it. And I think it might scare a few people, it might overwhelm a few people, but I've been on my journey for 11 years now, or coming up 11 years. It'll be 11 years in February 2025. And I'm currently doing this podcast in November 2024. So it's not far away. And have I been dieting, as this person puts it, for the last 11? No, I haven't. Right? Have I been on a weight loss journey for the last 11 years? Yeah. So what we sort of class as dieting now is going into a weight loss phase, or being in a calorie deficit, as it were. When you're sticking to Slimming World, you're on a diet. A diet is just what you eat on a day-to-day basis, but we do sort of, now the word diet has just become synonymous. I'm coming out with all the words today, and I have no idea if they're right or not. I am literally the worst person at English. You probably know that from the way I talk. But anyway, the word diet has become, please correct me in the comments if I'm using all the wrong terminology, but it has become associated. I know that's the right word. So the word diet has become associated with weight loss, even though a diet just means what we eat on a day-to-day basis. I've been on a weight loss journey for 11 years, we'll say, just for ease. Have I been in a calorie deficit for 11 years? No, absolutely not. And how my journey's basically gone is I've probably had, I would say, 3 weight loss phases, as it were. So a weight loss phase is where I'm purposefully putting myself into, I say purposely, where I'm in a calorie deficit, basically. So when I started my weight loss journey in February 2014, I was trying to be in a calorie deficit for 3 years, 9 months. It got to November 2017, and I was about 235 pounds down at that point. And that's when I sort of said, I'm going to have a break from weight loss. So that's kind of phase 1. And that's where I lost all my initial weight. In November 2017, I didn't decide that was where I'm at now and that's the end of it. It was just kind of, I need to take a break, an extended break. And I just want to concentrate on my training, my nutrition, and further down the line, I might decide to go into another weight loss phase, as it were. It just so happens about 12 months after making that decision, maybe a little bit sooner, I started personal training. I only started part-time, and then I moved into full-time personal training in January 2019. But from even starting part-time personal training, my movement didn't change in terms of what I was doing previously. It only improved. My training didn't get compromised, even though I was personal training. It only improved. So I basically started to burn more calories. And when I became a full-time personal trainer, I burned a lot of calories. And I couldn't literally eat the calories I was burning. So I didn't really weigh myself that much. But probably I'd say from June, July 2018 through to the end of 2019, maybe actually into when COVID started in 2020, I lost another 2.5 stone, something like that. So when phase 1, I was 20 stone 5 pounds when I stopped that phase. The lowest I've ever been on my weight loss journey, I think, is 17 stone 1. So I literally lost another 3 stone 3 pounds over 18 months, 2 years, something like that, without even trying. Honestly, and I'm not trying to be big-headed when I say that. I was just burning loads of calories. I was eating. I'm still tracking my calories. I've talked about this quite a bit. I reckon I was eating. I used to guesstimate a lot more then at the weekends. 26, 27, maybe even 28,000 calories a week. And I was still shedding the pounds. But it's because I was burning a lot. then when I sort of took on the online game through COVID, and I started to phase out my one-to-one personal training, I've gained quite a bit of that weight back. And now I'm in another weight loss phase, as it were. So yeah, that's like 3 weight loss phases. But whether I'm trying to lose weight, gain weight, I don't think there'll ever be a time where I try and gain weight, sorry. Whether I'm trying to lose weight or maintain my losses, I'm still on this journey. And this is what I was saying before, sorry, about people, I probably didn't finish my point. A lot of people tiptoe around this because I think it can be quite overwhelming, or people are like, oh, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. But when I started my weight loss journey in 2014, that was the decision I made to myself, was this isn't for 6 months. This isn't for 9 months. This isn't for 12 months, Neil. You're not going to do these changes for a short period of time. You're doing it for a long period of time. I first started gaining weight when I was like 8, 9 years of age. I've always been a chunky kid. Right? I've always been a chunky kid. I was always going to be this height. I was always going to be this size. I was always going to be, not a skinny mini. It's not in my DNA. But, no one needs to be morbidly obese, not to the point where I got to at 37 stone. And that really started to rocket like late 80s. And I started this weight loss journey in 2014. So I've suffered with my weight for 26 years. That is a long-term problem. And in the past, I've tried to lose weight. I've gone on to different diets. I've done Slimming World. I've done Slim Fast shakes. I've done just my own extremes. Never eaten a takeaway ever again. Never eaten chocolate ever again. And I've lost some weight and I've done quite well at it. But I've only stuck to it for a few months. And this was why in 2014, I made this commitment to myself. You're not doing this for a few months, Neil. You're doing it for the rest of your life. And that's something you need to get into your mindset. Now, this is subjective a little bit because there are different levels of weight issue. Someone that's permanently about 1.5 stone overweight, to say they've got the same issue around eating as someone that is 30 stone, that's just not the case, is it? Now, it doesn't mean that someone that's 1.5 stone overweight, their issues aren't very important to them, just like someone that's 15, 16 stone overweight, their issues aren't important to them. But I do have different levels that I class when it comes to people's weight issues. And I work with all different clients. I've got clients on board now that are around the 10 stone mark. I've got clients that are on board now that are around the 35, 40 stone mark, maybe a little bit heavier than that. And I handle them all in slightly different ways. They're all on roughly the same kind of plan, as it were. My philosophies around weight loss, but they're all on different, like I say, I handle things a little bit differently depending on how I judge their weight issue to be. But the honest truth is, if you've been suffering with being 1.5 stone overweight for 5, 6, 7 years, we need to sort that out. Not for a week or a month or 2 months or 8 months or whatever. We want to lose that 1.5 stone and we want to put things into place where you don't gain it back. You keep that weight off. Likewise, if you're someone that is 35 stone and we get you down to being 15 stone, again, we need to put things into place. And like I say, this might be overwhelming. People go, I don't want to be on a diet for the rest of my life. You don't need to be. You don't need to think of it like that. And I get it. I get why people think like that. If you're currently losing weight through Slimming World, to think I've got to sin food for the rest of my life, I get why you're just like, I don't want to do that. Likewise, if you're intermittent fasting, if you do the ketogenic diet, you're never going to eat a carb. To sit here now and think, I'm never going to eat a carb ever again, is brutal. It really is. It's brutal. It can be quite demoralising. Is that the word? Another big word coming out in this episode. But it is. It's brutal to think like that. I coach healthy, sustainable weight loss. And, I'm very open and honest with my clients. I'm like, no, right? This isn't, weight loss isn't for Christmas. It's for life, as it were. It is something that we're going to build in. And this is relating back to that earlier podcast I did where it has to be seen as a lifestyle change, you have ended up with your weight today because of the way you've lived your life. Right? Now, we can make changes to lose the weight, but those changes need to stay in place. And this is where people do find it a little bit overwhelming, thinking they've got to do this diet for the rest of their life. Whether I'm trying to lose weight or maintain my losses, what I do on a day-to-day basis from 2014 when I started my weight loss journey doesn't change. It'll never change. And I sort of relate. Look, I'm an ex-food addict. I like to think I can call myself an ex-food addict now because I've had some really good self-control. I've been maintaining from that initial weight loss phase where I got down to 20 stone, 5 pounds. I've never been consistently heavier than that in the last 7 years. So I have maintained my weight. So I do have good control around my calories. Like I say, I've been a lot lighter and I have gained a little bit back. And at the moment, I'm trying to go back down again. And I'll always have this battle. I will. And again, this is part of the mindset of having a successful weight loss journey is understanding it's going to be for the rest of my life. And I do relate it to, an alcoholic. An alcoholic might not have drunk alcohol for 5 or 6 years, might not have drunk alcohol for 20 years. But in their mindset, they will still kind of see themselves as an alcoholic and they should be able to call themselves an ex-alcoholic, just like I call myself an ex-food addict. But they still have to work every day not to be an alcoholic. A drug addict that is clean has to work every day, whether that's 2 years since having their last drugs or it's 10 years or 20 years. The only thing I can guarantee for all you guys is it does get easier with time. But the things I put into place at the start of my weight loss journey, they're still in place now. And whether I've lost weight through purposefully trying, whether I've lost weight just because my job became very active, whether I've gained weight, all right, and I'll tell you why I gained weight. You might be like, well, if you've kept everything in place, how have you gained some weight back? I'll tell you very, very shortly. Whether I'm in a gain-in phase, which is never going to be on purpose, or whether I'm in a phase of I want to maintain my weight, things that I did from the start to change my lifestyle, moving more on a day-to-day basis, being more responsible with my calories, eating my protein, eating my fibre, drinking my water, doing some regular exercise, getting my steps in. I've already said that. Yes, I think so. They've never changed. At the start of my weight loss journey, I worked on including more steps in my lifestyle. I work on that every day now, 11 years later. It's got easier as I've lost my weight. My mobility's improved. I've got it in my routine. I've got 2 dogs. Great accountability for getting those steps in, which I didn't have at the start of my journey. But one of the things I started to do from the beginning of my journey was move more on a day-to-day basis. I still do it now. That has stayed into place. Likewise, from the start of my weight loss journey, I have always, looked at my calories, tracked calories. I didn't track them quite the way I track them now. I didn't even know what MyFitnessPal was until 2 years into my weight loss journey. And now I use NutriCheck. But I've always been conscious and tried to be more responsible with my calories. Exercise. I joined a gym 2 years in. Now, exercise isn't the be-all and end-all of weight loss, but it's massively helped my mental health, which domino effect has massively helped with my weight loss journey. But yeah, with exercise, I joined a gym, I think it was around end of April 2014, started going a couple of times a week. That escalated into 3 times a week, then 4 times a week, and then at some point it became 5 times a week, and then 6 times a week, and then I became a personal trainer, and even now I go to the gym on a regular basis. It's something that I have put into my everyday lifestyle, and it's not gone anywhere. Other things, though, that I included in my everyday lifestyle was eating a takeaway once a week. I still eat a takeaway once a week. So it doesn't have to all be like move more, eat less, drink the water. There are things where, I put things in where I'm going to allow myself a little bit of food freedom, a little bit of freedom with the things I enjoy. I put that in at the start. And I still have that now. And again, this all helps to the sustainability. I've done a live in my Facebook group today that talks about Christmas, because we're coming up to Christmas. So I'm doing quite a few Christmas lives and how to handle Christmas. I've enjoyed every single Christmas. And when I say I've enjoyed every single Christmas, I've shuffled the priority pack. Weight loss has not been a priority over Christmas. And it wasn't in 2014, 2015, 2016. Guess what? It's not going to be in 2024 either. So all these sort of changes I made from the start of my journey are still in place now. The only thing that changes, depending on what my goal is, whether it's weight loss or weight maintenance, is simply the amount of calories I eat. If I want to lose some body fat, I'll go into a calorie deficit. If I get to a point where losing body fat at the moment isn't my goal, I just want to maintain my losses, I'll move more into a calorie maintenance. That's the only change. Everything else, long-term problem, long-term solution. And the long-term solution for me has been, this whole revamp of my lifestyle, which will never, ever change. And going back to that person, in fact, I'm not going to go back to that person just yet. I'll go back to it shortly. Let me tell you about my weight gain. All right. So I talk about weight loss all the time. Why did I gain? So the lowest I've ever been is about 17 stone. Right. I came back from holiday in October 2022 and I was in denial. I'll hold my hands up. I don't mind admitting this. I was in denial that I was gaining weight back. Right, and certain clothes weren't fitting me anymore, or feeling a lot tighter than they were, and the scales were changing. But I was like, oh, maybe it's just I've got these new scales, or maybe it's the surface I'm weighing on. I was in denial, and basically, I was 17 stone 1, I think, at my lightest. When I came back from holiday in October 2022, I jumped on the scales, and don't get me wrong, I'm carrying a lot of excess water, food, and water retention from holiday weight. But I was nearly 21 stone. So I was above that 20 stone, 5 pounds. Within a few days, I was back down under it because I lost, like I say, excess water weight, excess food weight, excess water retention. But still, that was my reality check. And I was like, okay, when did the weight gain start? Well, obviously it started from May 2021. I started doing online weight loss coaching. And from doing that, I added online clients into my portfolio and I started to reduce my day-to-day clients. I went from doing 40 personal training sessions a week to 30, then to 25, then to 20, then to 15. The less PT sessions I'm doing, the less movement I'm doing. I also moved from being a personal trainer in a gym to being a personal trainer in my own PT studio that I have built at the back of my house in COVID. Again, you burn more calories running around a great big building than you do walking around a room that's 6.5 meters by 3.5 meters. But I was in denial about it. I never changed my eating. So when I became a personal trainer, I was literally eating 3,000 calories a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, doing what I wanted at the weekend, guesstimating in the morning, what are we doing today? This, and this. Right, I'll stick that into my app, that'll do. And it never bothered me because, like I say, even though I was doing that, I was consistently losing weight. So I didn't need to be as accurate with my calorie tracking. One of my big sayings is there's 5 days in a week, not 7. And when I was a personal trainer, there were 5 days in a week. 2 days of the week, I wasn't as accurate or as accountable for my tracking. And as my calorie burn dropped from moving more online with clients than doing one-to-one personal training, my calorie burn dropped. My calorie intake didn't. I still in my head, I'm a personal trainer. Whether I was doing 40 sessions a week or 10 sessions a week, I'm a PT. I'll carry on 3,000 calories a day, Monday to Friday, and then kind of do what I want at the weekend. Bit of guesstimate in the morning. Going out tonight, right? Let's have a quick look at the menu. Right, I'm having that, and that. I'll put 5 beers in or whatever. And that caught up with me. And I would say over the space of 18 months, now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I was 17 stone, 1 pound when I started. I think I started gaining a little bit back through COVID, not working. But it wasn't noticeable. And I look back now, if I scan down to my first TikTok videos, which I did in January 2021, and that was my reality check. I literally scanned back 18 months. I was like, yeah, you've gained weight, Neil. I can see that, right? So anyway, I went into, I reckon I was probably about, when I first started doing TikTok, I reckon I was probably about 18, maybe 18 and a half stone, something like that. And like I say, I crept up. I hit it hard when I got back with that reality. Lost quite a bit of weight before Christmas 22. Last year, 2023, was rubbish. I weighed the same going into Christmas 2023 as I did in January 2023. I was up and down. And that was my first year where I was fully retired from personal training. So I managed to stay in control. I maintained. There's nothing bad about that. But yeah, I didn't do what I wanted to do. Anyway, this year in 2024, I set out to lose 2 stone, 28 pounds from last weigh, and I think I'm about 19, 20 pounds down. So I'm having a much better year. But anyway, I took my eye off the ball. I got complacent. And again, it was a learning curve. It's always going to be a work in progress. And yeah, it taught me, probably really cemented, long-term problem, long-term solution. I can't let my eye slip off the goal. And the goal for me is never to go back to being 37 stone again. And yeah, if we talk back to this, or go back to this person that said on my TikTok video, you've been on a diet for 10 years, like I'm a failure. Look, I don't use the word diet, I use weight loss journey. And the honest truth is, just as I've said already in this episode, an alcoholic gets easier with time, but an alcoholic for the rest of their life is going to have to work at not being an alcoholic. A drug addict is going to have to work at it. A gambling addict, doesn't matter what you're addicted to. If you've given up smoking, you've got to work at it, consistently work at it. It gets easier with time. So yeah, I have been dieting, if that's what that person wants to call it, or as I like to say, I have been on a weight loss journey for 10 years. In fact, it's nearly 11 years. And if you ask me in another 10 years, it'll be 20 years or 21 years. If you ask me, because I'm on this journey for the rest of my life. Now, the way I look at weight loss, the way I approach it, because it is so healthy and it is so sustainable, it doesn't bother me. It's not overwhelming. It doesn't matter that I'm on this journey because I'm not overly restricted. I enjoy holidays. I enjoy Christmas. I enjoy a takeaway. I enjoy a meal out. I just work at building it into my calorie allowance. If you're sat there now going, I don't want to sin food for the rest of my life, you don't have to. I don't want to eat. You're not eating, are you? Drink shakes for the rest of my life. You don't have to. I don't want to not eat carbs, Neil, for the rest of my life. I don't want to intermittent fast. You don't need to do that. You just need to consistently consume less calories than you burn. It really is. It is that simple. Just because something's simple doesn't mean it's easy. But I don't care whether you're a stone or 2 stone overweight. I don't care if you're 15, 20 stone overweight. You have got to get into your mindset that you're not doing this for a couple of months. You're not doing this for 6 months. Ask yourself this one question. Whatever you're doing now to lose weight, are you happy to do it for the rest of your life? And I'm not talking about the amount of calories you're consuming because that will change. But I'm talking about not eating a takeaway for the rest of your life. Not eating carbs, right? Intermittent fasting, yeah? Going and seeing Babs every Thursday night at 7:30 and having 12 sins a day. And if the answer is no, I just want to do this while I get to my goal, well, what are you going to do after you get to your goal? How is this changing your lifestyle? So not only do you lose the weight, but you maintain those losses. And a lot of my success is down to the fact that from the start of my weight loss journey in 2014, I knew I was in this for the long haul. I knew I was in this for the rest of my life. And like I say, it's not I'm dieting for the rest of my life. I've got this massive amount of restriction for the rest of my life while I'm trying to lose body fat, because that's not the way I look at weight loss. And if you want to look at weight loss the way I look at weight loss and sit there and go, I'm happy to do this for the rest of my life, like I say, I'm an online weight loss coach. It's what I do. All the details will be in the description of this podcast if you want to get on board. But yeah, long-term problem, long-term solution. You're doing this for the rest of your life. I never ever want to go back to being 37 stone. And because I have that mentality that I am doing this for the rest of my life, I never ever will. There we go. That's it for this one. Hope you found some of that. You've been able to resonate with some of that. maybe a little bit of a reality check for some of you guys that have been bouncing from fad diet to fad diet to fad diet, trying to find that miracle cure, that quick fix. There isn't one. There genuinely isn't one. Okay. Right, I'm signing off. Let me know in the comments anything that you know that I've maybe touched on in this podcast. General feedback's always good as well. And until next time, whichever format you're watching me in, make sure you are bossing your weight loss.